All right, welcome back. Let's talk about the just concluded local government elections that took place in Lagos State. 20 local government areas and 37 LCDAs, making it 57 in all. That has generated a lot of controversy. Sweeping polls for the APC is the regular thing that happens in Nigeria during state elections. Somebody said the most predictable election in Nigeria is local government election. But beyond the nuances around it, there are controversies about rejecting the results of the election from opposition political parties. So for the result, all the chairmanship seats were won by the APC. All the councillorship seats were won by the APC except one, I think, that was won by the PDP. And now the opposition are not happy. They are perhaps asking for a cancellation. There is even a case instituted in court by one of the parties. So let's bring in the different sides to the conversation. Let's bring in first the APC Publicity Secretary in Lagos State, Mr. Seyi Oladijo. He joins us right here in our Lagos studio. Mr. Oladijo, thanks for coming on the program.
Thank you for having me. Good morning.
Also right here in our Lagos studio is Dele Oladeji. He's the chairman of our court party, Lagos State. Thank you for coming on the program. And also Rotimi Dunaike is the Labour Party chairman in Lagos State, joining us virtually. Thank you, gentlemen, for coming on the program. Dunaike, let's start with you. I think the best place to start, there was a lot of talk about before the process, during the process, and now we're in the aftermath of the process. What is the biggest, first, how was the experience during the polls? And what are the objections that the opposition parties are calling for as far as this election is concerned?
When all of the, thanks for having me. When all of the political parties in Lagos State that should contest an election are not represented on the ballot boxes, that tells you something. And I think this is more around who conducts a state election. Should it be an independent National Electoral Commission or should it be a state electoral commission? And that therein lies the problem, in my view. So a lot of the polling units didn't have the right ballot papers there. Some didn't have a lot of the political parties represented on the ballot boxes. There were different polling units from what you have at the federal level elections. So there was confusion all around. And LASEC has said over and over again that they've done a lot of education with the voting public, with the political parties bringing IPAC together for all of us to come together and understand what's going on. But it was just, it was shambles on Saturday, and that's not how you conduct an election. And an election that is very, very impactful to the grassroots, because local government is the grassroots. So yeah, it was really, really disappointing, but it was expected.
Let's come to you from our court party. Maybe he has highlighted some of the things as well, and he's going to do a lot of the heavy lifting because his party is in power, so he will respond to all the things you guys have raised. What are your objections exactly?
Okay, our objection, should I go to the pre-election or the main election?
Both. You can, okay. But within the shortest time you can.
Okay, going into the election, a lot of the praise of LASEC, which is the Lagos State electoral body, was fraught with a lot of anomaly and irregularities. This is a commission that's supposed to be independent, but from the word go, that was from the very day they released their timetable, they weren't acting independent in any way. I remember in their first interactive section, no, the second, I spoke to the gathering and I said, last year cannot afford for this election to be litigated. Neither can we political parties afford to have this election being bogged down with court cases and everything. Last year should do their best to be independent and to be seen to be fair in their dealings with political parties. But all this interactive section, we later realized over time that it's just formality. They call us to a meeting, we speak, we share ideas, but they don't take to it. By the time their work or their release or press or whatever come out, it's always in the negative or contrary to what political parties submitted. There was even a particular one I asked them, last year, who are you actually listening to? Because in the build-up to this election, I remember the person of Right Honorable Fem Bojamila spoke to this election. The ruling party spoke, which is the state chairman for APC, spoke to this election. Then the Lagos State House of Assembly spoke to the local government election. But of all those opinions, the one that was taken to or adhered to was the one by the ruling party. So like, what exactly are you like working towards? So we foresee a lot of things going wrong, and it actually went wrong. The timetable when it was released, I raised it because I think I paid for some nomination form early in April. And I demanded for the form. They said, no, it's until this social time. I look at the timetable. We only have 2 days margin to nominate a candidate, collect form, and to submit back. This is a form whereby you have to like have 20 nominees across your constituency as local government chairman candidates to fill for you. I was like, it won't be practicable. Nobody see it coming. I even mentioned on the group of IPAC that a time will come, these 2 days, we'll see party chairman running around LASEC like headless chicken. Nobody saw it coming until the day it came. Then we were bogged down with one circumstance, that's paying onto the Lagos State platform, the tax revenue platform. It took us days. So from that very word go, everything was bogged down. We have to run a skelter. They gave us 2 days on their timeline. We couldn't effect it for like 4 or 5 days. Even when we finally submitted the form, they themselves couldn't take it in until the weekend, Saturday. So a lot of that benchmark where even they themselves could not even meet up with their timetable. Then we get to a time whereby some parties got their form late to submit. LASEC wasn't collecting again. Why would you just reject candidate's form? We were dragging it a lot, having a lot of discussion. The LASEC chairman was just adamant she's not going to take form. That's why we end up with hundreds of candidates on the opposition party that could not submit their form. However, I think in the ruling party, they are like, maybe they are made in heaven. They got all their forms submitted. There's still a window of, okay, if you want to substitute candidates, in every election we do that. Opposition parties were unable to substitute their candidates, a large number of them. But the ruling party were able. And even the ruling party were even substituting their candidates into a week into the election. There was there I was saying that on IPAC forum, and they were asking me, give us evidence. I was laughing. Do you think I'll come on this platform and I'll be bluffing? They said, give us evidence. Then I looked through all the evidence I have. One of them that could not be, it's like this, I say, you have an apple in that box. And they said, prove it. If I go prove it, there's always a sleight of hand in politics. Then they change it to orange. They're like, you lied, you said apple. So I looked for a particular one that could not be changed. Then I posted it. Posted the fact, posted the name of the candidate that was substituted, the timeline. They were asking me, how do you know? I said, well, it's happened in Akme. They said, how do you know? Yes, I don't belong to the APC, but one thing is, they said, the Yoruba say, it's your body, it's your local. Akme is filled with human beings. We get our feels.
Okay, let's come to you. There are some questions that are reserved for LASEC, but their assessments looks like they are saying that LASEC skewed the process in favor of the APC. Is that what you saw?
No, there is nothing that could be said to tend towards that. The LASEC released the timetable and the guidelines for the elections.
When was the timetable released?
I might not be able to really put a time.
No, how many months before the election was the timetable released?
I think about 3 months or 2 months or thereabouts. And that was to say that all the parties that were taking an election should abide by those guidelines. Those guidelines also had set time for every activity for the election. The parties are not in the business of dictating to LASEC. Perhaps they could advise LASEC. And let me just make it clear, I'm not in brief for LASEC. Like rightly said, there are questions that should be reserved for LASEC. The process itself, maybe not totally seamless, but good enough to turn out the results that we had. And let me also say that the preparation for the next election starts immediately after the preceding one. The opposition party only comes alive a few days to elections. The opposition parties was having problems with people filling their forms. That would tell you that opposition parties only exist on paper. All these issues and allegations of LASEC being in favor of the ruling party and all of that, they are just mere allegations that cannot be proved. The opposition party went to town with the election that had not even taken place being rigged. All these are reasons why we're going to continue to have an opposition that is incompetent, ineptitude, and lazy. All we hear every time, look, we had an election where the opposition parties didn't even have agents. If you didn't have agents in a polling booth of 500 people, who are the voters, who are the supporters of the party in the catchment area of 500 people? None. So all these allegations are likely unfounded. The only election that seems to be acceptable to the opposition is when they win. And that's not the way to play politics. The opposition needs to come alive for democracy to thrive.
Mr. Oladejo, don't forget that the APC at some point was also opposition.
Yes.
And at least from what we see, the ruling party today may be opposition tomorrow. And the opposition today may be ruling tomorrow.
But that's the way of democracy.
Did you experience some of the issues raised? 2 days window for filling the form and submitting it. The payment issues on the tax revenue platform. Then he said that all of your candidates were able to submit, and they had hundreds of candidates that were not able to submit. So did you also have 2-day window to fill and submit? Or you had a longer
Let me tell you why we have
window?
that kind of problem. Tax supposed to be paid as I went due. That should tell you that the opposition was operating in illegality. They were rushing to pay those taxes that were not paid when they were due because they were just running for elections.
Is that correct?
That's the smell of fact.
Very wrong.
Is it about payment or submitting their tax papers? What was it
No,
about?
you just said they have problems with the platform to pay for the taxes. Taxes are supposed to be paid as I went due. That will only imply those candidates were not taxpayers. They only wanted to pay taxes because they were coming for elections.
We would like you to respond immediately.
Okay, I'm glad he raised that. When he said opposition are not competent and all this, we didn't fill form on time and everything, the ruling party can fill and submit all their forms because they have undue privileges over all other opposition parties. Tell me, we have 19 parties. Only the ruling party meets up with every guideline and everything. Are you saying 18 other political parties came from somewhere or from the law? You sure you understand? One, for the tax are not actually tax. Take this, most of our candidates were working in corporate companies where they pay their income tax. We are all taxpayer. We run businesses, we pay tax. This money I mentioned, paying into Lagos State tax revenue account, is even an illegality. LASIEC, as against INEC procedure, charged us a fee to collect a nomination form. Now to call it nomination fee, they were being wise by half. They now call it administrative fee. Why would you charge us administrative fee when you already have a budget from the Lagos State government?
How much was it?
The budget?
No, how much was that?
Okay, for chairmanship candidates, it will be 150,000. For vice chairmanship, it's 75,000.
To LASIEC.
To LASIEC. And for councillorship candidates, it's 50,000. Now you are charging us for administrative fee. You expect an administrative, that what they are saying in essence is we are to pay for the administration, which is wrong totally. INEC doesn't charge that. Now, where are we paying into? You gave us an account for Lagos State tax and levy. Anomaly, an independent commission generating tax into a Lagos State tax and levy account. It doesn't add up. What you call it administrative fee? How do you get to access that fund to run your administration? So LASIEC end up going beyond their mandates of managing an election into generating fund for Lagos State. How independent is that?
Let me just correct an
quickly,
impression.
if you can do that in 30 seconds, yes.
You see, when I said the opposition is not on top of its game, the payment of taxes is not even a precondition to qualify to run for election. It's very clear. That's been decided by the courts.
No, he's talking about the administrative fees.
No, the administrative fee is not really my business. That's LASIEC business. Like I said, I don't speak for LASIEC.
Did you pay administrative fees?
Every party had to pay that. Every contestant had to pay that.
Do you think it is right for LASIEC to collect administrative fees by law?
No,
No, it's a straight question. Is it? I'm
not a lawyer. Like I said, it would be out of place, out of order for me to speak for LASIEC. It will be out of order, really. We're just a participant. I mean, you can't officiate in a game where you are also participating. That's very clear. What I'm saying is this: let them get on top of their game. The only thing they needed was the candidates must be of the prescribed age and must have the prerequisite educational qualification. The issue of taxes and all those whatnots are not part of it. So if those who oversee the affairs of the opposition parties do not even know the rules and the guideline election, you can just imagine the kind of results they're going to have.
Gentlemen, we're actually still talking pre-election. We've not even gotten into the election proper, and I think Mr. Odunaike was speaking to some of those issues. He's the caretaker chairman of Labour Party in Lagos State. Perhaps you want to respond to some of the points raised by the gentlemen here. And also, I want you to put to rest, maybe once and for all, this talk about the Labour Party having different factions. Which is which? Are you with the IPAC on this? Are you independent on this? And do you resonate with some of the points raised by IPAC, Mr. Oladeji here?
I mean, I'll speak to what the publicity secretary of APC just said now. It is the kind of rhetoric that has put our polity in what it is right now. A game. Politics is not a game. This is what we use as a tool, as a vehicle to deliver good governance to people. When we start calling it a game, that then allows us to have an authoritarian sort of government that sits in power or position of leadership for 26 years, have not delivered anything to the state, right? You then have a state electoral commission that is working for that said authoritarian government and cannot deliver the results of democracy and allow voters vote in the right way. That is sort of that's the kind of rhetoric that we don't want. Speaking on the Labour Party, again, this goes back to all of the things that LASEC have done to disenfranchise, and possibly INEC as well, disenfranchise parties like ours, which we are the strongest opposition party in Lagos, as it were, to the APC. All of the things that have led up to our factionalization, which is internal, but going beyond that to the Supreme Court ruling on April 4th, where our caretaker committee should have been the legitimate group to take Labour Party into the elections on July 12th, was never recognized. It effectively just disenfranchised the party and did not give us enough time to get our acts together to actually compete.
Is it true that the Labour Party...
Regardless of...
Pardon me. Apologies. So is it true, because LASEC chair had said that Labour Party has 3 factions in Lagos, and I'm sure you heard that. Is that true indeed?
It is true. It is a fact for everyone to know, but we should not be factionalized at this minute, because the April 4th Supreme Court judgment has ruled. But we have a country, or we live in a country, where the rule of law is the interpretation of the rule of law is based on someone's perception, not the rule of law.
So the question should be, so which faction of these Labour Party will LASEC be releasing with?
No, that's not the question.
That's not the point.
Let's get to the conduct of the election proper, because he also spoke about, again, it's valid to ask those questions, but so that we can achieve, the purpose of this conversation. So election day proper now, issues were raised about the positioning of these polling units. I mean, you heard the former deputy governor of Lagos State, who was livid about the conduct of this election, saying it's a sham. How would they go to a certain place that they know that the polling unit is meant to be, and it's not there, it's somewhere else that is most likely the stronghold of the ruling party? So for a lot of people, they saw some of those things, and perhaps you can speak to some of those issues quickly. You can add to it, because you conducted it, maybe 30 seconds, then you can speak to it, or you participated, not conducted.
That's part of the anomaly in the election. Let me just quickly revert to what he mentioned about we not having agents. We have agents. We submitted agent list across Lagos State. Like, let me take an instance of a party, YPP. They submitted for 3,000 plus agents. They were expecting 3,000 plus agents tag. They only got 310. How will they fill agents into all the rest of the polling booths? So when they don't have, you think they lack in capacity? No. They were systematically rigged out. Until Friday, a eve to the election, was when we got our agent list. And the ruling party have gotten this in the morning. We got ours around 6:30. YPP and Habga left LASEC office around 9 o'clock. They couldn't even get enough.
PM.
PM. So at 6:30, I dispatched the last agent tag to Ojo around 11 p.m. on that Friday. Some church chairmen were dispatching early on Saturday morning. So they systematically rigged out opposition party on the election day. Now, we still have another issue of they pasted some voters list at some polling booths, and the lists were actually not from that polling booth. There was an instance in Agege where a woman came to vote. Unfortunately for her, we have the video. Unfortunately for her, Someone in the voting list, the crowd at the voting center, knew the voter's card she was holding. The woman is already late 5 years ago. They have to where did you get this voter's card from? And they chase her away. So there's a lot of anomaly that was systematically set to deprive the opposition a way to win the election. When you get to the polling booth and your party logo is not on the ballot paper. Quite a lot of them across party line.
All right, let me take it.
I need to respond to that.
We'll come to you in just a moment. Let's take it to the Labour Party man, and because I want you to respond to all of this. I told you you're going to do a lot of heavy lifting. You're the winner, so it's natural for that. So now that both of you are called Party, Labour Party, all of these parties, are you instituting a suit? Are you challenging the process in court? If you feel strongly about the entire thing?
I think we're taking this week to, I mean, this is Wednesday. All of this happened on Saturday and over the weekend. So we need to take a week or more, if it were, to sit down internally as a party and then look at all of the other political parties in Lagos State and decide what we're going to do.
Okay.
We're not trying to, what we're trying not to do is to disrupt the polity. That is not what we're about. I mean, from a Labour Party perspective. But at the same time, the people need to be governed by the people that they want to govern them. And we cannot continue to have an authoritarian government in Lagos State.
Let me ask you. Okay, are you worried that Lasiek may have walked into legal line mines that may affect your victory at the polls?
No, not at all.
Do you know why I asked that question?
Yeah.
Do you know why I asked that question?
Yes.
Do you know the reason why the local government election in Rivers State was cancelled? I'll tell you. Section 153, subsection 3 of the Electoral Act was one of the biggest premises, which says that whatever elections are conducted as it is done in the FCC has to be done same with what is done in the local government areas across Nigeria. Subsection 3 of that Electoral Act says, if any commission in any state doesn't do it according to section 1 of 150, that election will be invalid. That's why I'm asking. Because issues around timetable when it was released, issues around number of days before the tenure of the end of the people on the seat, issues other than plus these ancillary issues. So I just gave you a background to say, are you worried about your victory?
We are not worried. Let me repeat, I'm not holding brief for Lasiek, but we are aware of those timelines about when the guidelines for the election should be released, the number of days, I mean, before the expiration of the current tenure of those who left office. We're aware of all those timetable. I also need to put it on record that if there were hiccups here and there, they affected all the participating parties. If polling booths were moved, it also means that the supporters of all the parties, as it were, will be confused about where to go. And really, the opposition party is speaking to all issues, LASEC, APC, and everything. They're not speaking to their internal rankings. They're not speaking about the confusion they would have caused. There are very few supporters or which faction of Labour Party to vote for, or maybe ADC, dividing votes that were not enough among parties that are virtually existing only on papers. These are the issues they should rather address and put their house in order. They have never won an election. I guess the only election accepted to them was when Labour Party recorded the fiery victory in the presidential election. That was supposed to be fair and fair, but every other election was rigged. They need to look inwards to put their house in order to have any chance of tasting victory in Lagos. It's as simple as that.
So let me be clear. You are also saying that in terms of the timeline,
yes,
and some of those, requirements for conducting an election, LASEC didn't meet the standard.
They did. They did. Look,
no, you just said that you were also affected by the things.
No, I said if polling booths were moved from where they were supposed to be.
Were they moved for you? Did you see any of the polling units?
The opposition, that was in the realm of the opposition. They kept saying polling booths were moved.
So none moved. You didn't notice any?
Not to my knowledge. We didn't get any such reports. The reports we had from our on-field workers spoke to materials arriving late in a number of polling booths. And if materials arrive late, in just a handful of polling booths, would that be enough to discredit the process?
You didn't get reports of logos, your logos not being on the
Not to our knowledge. And that's not our business because our logo was there. So it's not our business to start looking for the logo of other parties.
So were your logos missing? Or any other party's logo missing?
Yes, ours in Accord weren't missing, but several parties' logo were missing.
Like, do you
APP, YPP, and,
On the ballot paper?
On the ballot paper.
Is it a function that they probably didn't, maybe it was councillorship ballot or a chairmanship ballot?
Like I said earlier, it's a systematic rigging. Normally in the general election, even where you have constituency where you have maybe 5 parties contesting that constituency, INEC will list every party's logo.
Whether or not they're on the ballot.
You understand? But in the case of LASEC now, they now start to have 2 parties on this constituency, 3 there, 4 there. Even they themselves admitted they have errors. Where they realized party logos were missing where those parties field candidates. They admitted it. They told us it's an error. When we asked them, give us official communication, a letter, they would not. They would rather call you and they start begging.
So they called you to say it's an error?
They called some of our party chairmen. You know, we don't have those missing logo. But the party chairmen that have those missing logo, they called them and they were begging.
The gentleman was already speaking for parties that are not.
Yes, I'm representing
His was not missing.
No, there's IPAC, and I think the
yes, I'm a member of
APC is meant to be
We're also part of IPAC.
And you mentioned something.
Do you check the WhatsApp messages on IPAC?
Of course, we're also part of IPAC. We're a major stakeholder in IPAC.
Did you see these concerns? Did you see these concerns on the IPAC group?
Look, let me tell you, the opposition is known to cry wolves where there are none. And it's just their refrain to discredit the process.
What is even more disturbing to me, both of you I want to ask, and then maybe him, because you're the victor here, nobody wants a distortion of the polity, as is mentioned. It's even worrying that there's a constitution and there's an electoral act, and it looks like LASIEC, which we will hope they will come here someday, is walking into simple electoral landmines that should have been avoided.
No, this still remains in the realm of mere allegations. Let me say that. Proven.
Let me be clear. Balarabe Musa versus INEC, according to what LASIEC wrote to EIE, enough is enough, saying Section 103.
You meant INEC, not LASIEC?
LASIEC wrote to EIE,
okay,
saying that Section 103 that they've raised, according to 150 before the expiration and 30 days before the election, which is supposed to be, they are saying that applies only to the FCT. There is a misinterpretation of the law. But Section 150 says whatever is done with the FCT polls has the same force and equal power, such that if you don't do it that way, by subsection 3 of that same law, that election can be invalidated. And I quoted to you, Yamama, the Supreme Court Justice that read the lead judgment in APC versus Rivers State election, cancelled an entire election based on this premise. So I'm asking what the political parties are doing about simple electoral guidelines. Let me talk to you first.
For starters, the LASIEC body in Lagos State is headed by a retired judge of the High Court of the state. So as far as the law is concerned, I believe she knows her onions. We were all there at the stakeholders forum, and these issues were never raised. And that was the meeting.
No, they were raised. EIE raised it. I'm just giving you.
I was there.
I'm not just.
I was there at the meeting with LASIEC, presided over by the chairman of LASIEC with all the.
Maybe at that forum it wasn't raised, but I just told you where it was raised.
We didn't have the issue of the timeline. We didn't have those issues of the timeline. And you know what? When these issues arise, they're not issues meant for rhetorics in the media.
I have quoted 2 Supreme Court judgments. I've quoted 2 provisions of the Electoral Act. I could ask the Constitution.
The timeline, you can quote me on this, were followed according to the law.
I think you should appoint yourself with the Electoral Act with the greatest sense of respect. Let's come to you.
Actually, these issues were raised because we have a situation whereby it happened in 2021 too, whereby you have an election on July 12th, and the expiration of the political office holder now is expiring in July 26th. There's no even room for any going to the tribunal or whatever. Why you take someone to the election tribunal? Someone is already occupying office. So this is not
the position of the law. I mean, there have been elections that have been overturned. You agree with me? Even when people have been sworn in and all of that. The timelines were followed because we were also worried as a party that we were pressed for time, that there was a timeline for people who are leaving office to be issued, I mean, that notice should be issued for the next elections at a specific time. And I can tell you that for free. I don't have to speak for LASIEC. that those timelines were followed.
Mr. Tunake, you're not missing in action here, so we need to get your salvos as well, so we represent all of the parties in this conversation.
I mean, the APC Publicity Secretary mentioned that Honorable Kikiru is a justice of, former justice of the Lagos State High Court. Therein lies the problem. She was a justice of the Lagos State High Court. It is centered around Lagos State, it is centered around the ruling party. The foundation of this election in itself is faulty from day one. And the fact that a state which is controlled by a particular political party will then have an independent state commission, electoral commission, conduct elections at the local government level is faulty. The foundation in itself is faulty. And that's what we're seeing, all we're seeing. And that's the reason why we've had APC or AD or AC as it were for the 26 years, sweeping all of the local government elections. I mean, if we take federal elections as an example, and then you take state elections, you have a different word at the federal level, you have a different word at the state level because we've got 20 local governments and 37 LCDAs. There's confusion everywhere. And like the Accord Party chairman said, it is systemic rigging that disenfranchised every single political party from this particular election that we're talking about right now.
I don't know if you have final thoughts on this, just about 30 seconds to anchor on this for each of you, because this is also about governance. It's also about doing things the right way, because if you don't do things right, you can only imagine what kind of governance will come out of it. So final words on this.
Yeah, thank you very much. I would like to seize this opportunity to appreciate all those who are involved in the process of the elections, the ruling party APC, the opposition parties. Without opposition parties, there will be no elections. The LASEC, the security agencies that ensure there was peace and tranquility all through the process. And most importantly, the Lagosians, the electorates who renew their confidence in our party to ensure that we have APC at the national, the state and local government levels to ensure continuity and governance.
In spite of the low
social
turnout.
contracts.
In spite of the low turnout.
In spite of the low turnout, we cannot be blamed entirely on the ruling party alone. And let me also say,
we'll blame all the political parties.
If we have more efficient, more proven, more committed, more passionate opposition party that is interested in providing credible alternatives, the turnout will be better and our democracy will grow. Thank you, Lagosians.
Ms. Aladeji.
Okay, one thing about a capable opposition, one thing is, they complain even from the polity, Lagosians on the election days, we are not voting, we know they will still rig themselves in. So that low turnout is not the fault of opposition party. It's a loss of faith and trust in the government in power. That's for one. It's mentioned earlier that they are not concerned whatever the opposition are complaining about the election. It should be concerned. It's like I wore a lace material now, and someone is looking for a lace. They said, oh, my lace has been stolen. I should be concerned. So there's a need for the ruling party to be concerned that 18 parties out of 19 are complaining about an election that you won.
So they might steal their list.
They should be concerned.
Mr. Tunake,
I like that analogy.
Final thoughts.
The polity is broken, and we have to go back to that, because the polity is what drives everything. And the polity is broken because we have the wrong leadership in government. We have the leadership that has concerned itself more about politics than about governing the people and governing the people right. So authoritarian politics, there's no room for authoritarian politics anymore in Lagos State, and indeed the entire nation. So my plea to our voters is, we know that we have failed you somehow, some way, but we're coming back. We are coming back. And 2027, we will renew your faith in us, and will renew the hope that you have in us to challenge what we currently have, which is just not leadership, not governance.
Did I hear renewed hope? Did I hear we renewed the hope? That's renewed hope. That's the APC's renewed hope.
We renewed the faith that they had in us.
He's already welcoming you to the party.
That's on the lighter side.
On a lighter note.
All right. So at the end of the day, it's a sad tale when we see elections sweeping across. It's not a Lagos problem, so let's be clear. across Nigeria. That's why some people are saying INEC should now conduct state elections. But we're interested in the process, which is why we're querying all of this. We must thank all of you, gentlemen. Rotimi Odunaike is the caretaker chairman of the Labour Party in Lagos State. Mr. Dele Oladeji is the chairman of our court party in Lagos State. And the man that did all the heavy lifting today, Sheye Oladejo, APC Publicity Secretary in Lagos State. Thank you so much. We appreciate you guys. And we wish all of you the very best.